What's going on, YouTube fam? It's your boy Tony 2 times, and we back with another episode of Hood Tales, man. Before I start, I want to give a special thanks to Miyosha for supporting the channel on buymeacoffee.com/Tony2timestv. We appreciate you for all your support. I hope everybody had a good holidays out there. Before I get deep into the story, be sure to tap that like button. For the day one fam, y'all already know it's all love. Thanks for tuning back into another episode. If you're new to the channel and you feeling the content, feel free to subscribe. Definitely hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time we drop a new video. Let's get right into the story. In life, everyone moves and carries themselves in different ways. You have people that are friendly, kind, they care for others, and are extroverts. They don't mind conversating with everyone or extending a helping hand when they can. Then you have others who stay to themselves. Probably don't have a lot of friends. You never really see them on the scene or rocking with nobody. They just handle their everyday business and hit the crib. A lot of these personality traits comes from life experiences. The person that comes off quiet and low key probably more than likely has witnessed certain things or been through experiences and hurt to the point they don't trust no one or feel all they have is themselves. While on the other hand, the open, kind person could view life in a total opposite lens. They might feel like you have to be there for people. You show love to get love. And even if somebody shows you weird character traits, you still rock with that person and be willing to be a friend. You really can't judge or not know one for the way they choose to operate or live their lives. It's really whatever floats your boat. But in certain cases, it makes sense not to be so trusting, as everybody doesn't have good intentions. While the quiet introvert might know that and stay out the way, the helpful person that doesn't mind looking out for everybody might find themselves in a lot of tricky situations, because every smiling face isn't your friend, and even trying to help, if it's the wrong person, can come with consequences. And on this episode of Hood Tales, we'll be taking it all the way back to 2014 in Chicago, Illinois, to discuss a case of a man who slayed his roommate over rent money and groceries. Back in 2014, Eric Sanders was 19 years old and trying to navigate the Chicago streets. Eric would get jammed up on a little drug charge, nothing major, to the point he got off with just probation. But he would violate and had to serve some time, almost 3 years. After being released, the young man needed a place to stay. Not wanting to go to his mother's house and trying to stand on his own too, he decided to talk to his girlfriend, who had a family member looking to rent out a room in her place. The woman was 22-year-old Carnisha Fort, a hard-working mother of 4 kids at the time, ages 3, 5, 7, and 8. Carnisha worked at the airport and had dreams of going back to school to become a pharmacy tech. The young lady was said to have a good heart and didn't mind helping friends and family. So she told Eric as long as he helped with the rent and groceries, he had a place to stay at her spot in 100 block of North Killer Avenue in the West Garfield Park part of the city. Eric took the opportunity and moved in. He got familiar with the kids, even with Carnisha's boyfriend, to the point he was like extended family. At first, everything seemed to be going good until he started coming up short with rent and the money on his link card for food. Carnisha would eventually get fed up and tell Eric if he couldn't keep up his end of the deal, he couldn't stay there anymore. And on June 6, 2014, he knew she meant what she was saying. About 10:30 p.m. that night, the young lady was at home with her kids when Eric swung by. She let him in and confirmed after tonight he wasn't welcome back to the house. Eric stated, "All right, that's cool. Just let me use the phone to call a cab and I will leave." Using the house phone, he called and waited. When the cab pulled up, the young man went outside. But 2 minutes later, he told Carnisha, "I thought I lost my cell phone, but I remember now it's in your house, probably in the bathroom." The young lady let Eric back in the home to look for his phone. As she walked back to her room and sat on the bed, the kids were all watching TV. As Eric walked in the bathroom for a few minutes, he left out and entered Carnisha's room. He hugged the young lady and said, "Okay, I'm gone." But seconds later, shots went off and struck the young lady in the chest. Eric then ran out the house, jumped in the still waiting cab, and left the scene. Back at the house, Carnisha's oldest called the neighbor and stated Eric shot mommy. They then called CPD, who responded to the home to find Carnisha suffering from a gunshot wound. She was rushed to a local hospital, where unfortunately, she wouldn't survive her injuries. CPD quickly got the name of the suspect, as everyone knew Carnisha and Eric had been beefing over rent money for a minute. One of the kids said he heard a pop and heard his mother say, "Eric, no, what about my kids?" before he smiled at one of them and then ran out the house. Eric, now on the run, called his mother and a few friends. He told them he messed up bad. He gave his mother his location and she picked him up. He stated he needed to get low and go to Indiana because he just killed his roommate. While in the car, Eric got a call. It was police stating they had some questions for him in regards to Carnisha. He panicked and told his mother to stop the car because he didn't want to go back to jail, and he felt CPD was tracking him. Eric then threw his phone, took his mother's phone and $40, jumped out the whip and ran to a nearby gas station. A few days after the incident, detectives got word Eric had made it to Indiana. He would be picked up and extradited back to Chicago on first-degree hit charges and weapon violations. As the case made its way to trial, the state had a few witnesses who stated Carnisha was trying to help Eric, but he was taking advantage of the young lady, taking her kindness for weakness. She would call and vent to friends and family until she finally got tired and put him out. The main witness was her oldest child, who stated Eric always had a weird vibe, and he watched as the man hugged his mother before shooting her and smiling at him before running out. Eventually, Eric was found guilty of all charges and was sentenced to 60 years. He filed an appeal a few years later, but the sentence was upheld. Rest in peace to Carnisha. I send my deepest prayers and condolences to her family, especially her kids, who had to witness all of this. At first, I was a little bit confused, thinking if she had a boyfriend, why was Eric even living at the house? But as a mother of four, who probably needed help financially and had extra space, she probably thought it would be a good idea. Plus, Eric was in a relationship with one of her peoples. Thinking she was giving out a helping hand, Carnisha saw him as no threat. I know some people feel like they only get their blessings by helping others and looking out for people. But some people you just can't do that with. Eric took this young lady's life because, in my opinion, his ego was hurt that she confronted him and put him out because he was trying to finesse and get over. If Carnisha would have said, "Nah, bro, you can't stay here with me and my kids. I don't know you like that," she probably would still be here. Sometimes we gotta use our discernment, weigh out every option in a situation and outcome, good and bad. People hate the fact they can't use you. When you are a good person, they feel you're supposed to look out. But in the end, the person helping usually always gets the short end of the stick. So remember, we gotta succeed, not to fail, so we won't be just another Hood Tale. Yeah, man, crazy story. Rest in peace, that young lady. I send my prayers to her family. But I ain't gonna talk too much more about this one. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. Definitely be respectful. I appreciate you if you made it to the end. Y'all already know it's all love, fam. It's another episode of Hood Tales. It's your boy Tony 2 times. What's going on, YouTube, fam? It's your boy Tony 2 times, and we back with another episode of Hood Tales, man. Before I start, be sure to tap that like button. Definitely watch this video to the end to hear the full story and all the details in the case. For the day one, fam, y'all already know it's all love. Thanks for tuning back into another episode. If you're new to the channel and you feeling the content, feel free to subscribe. Definitely hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time we drop a new video. Let's get right into the story. A son's love for his mother is unmatched. It's a bond that usually starts all the way from birth. Even if your father is in the picture, the love that most mothers give their sons is just different. As the baby boy turns into a young man, Most of the time, that's when his male instincts kick in. Like, I gotta protect Mom Dukes at all costs because she is the one that birthed me, fed me, looked out for me when I was sick, and with some mothers, even allow their baby boys to cry and be emotional around them in a world that frowns upon that. And it's not cool for a young man to show that. Once that man leaves the nest, it's suggested he should find him a woman, have a family, and do his own thing. Maybe stop by a few times a week to check on mom and pops or make a few calls to see if all is well. But if a mother tells her son she is in trouble and needs his help, most won't even ask any questions. It's straight go mode, like ma, whatever it is, I got you. But what if mommy is dealing with problems she caused that's out of your control as a son, and she wants you to right her wrongs, possibly throwing your life away? And on this episode of Hood Tales, we'll be taking it to Pennsylvania to discuss a case of a mother that used her son to get rid of her ex-boyfriend because he moved on. Back in 2020, Christopher Wilson was a 52-year-old man and father of 9 kids. Chris worked hard at his job at a recycling company in Middleton Township, about an hour and 45 minutes from Philly. Being a single, older gentleman that was always working, Chris really didn't have much time to date. But 2 years prior, he met a woman he was feeling, Joyce Brown Rodriguez. The couple had been kicking it and really connecting. Joyce in 2020 was 55, a few years older than Chris, and seemed to be in love with the man. But it was a big problem. Joyce was a married woman. Even though she told Chris it was her estranged husband and the marriage had ran its course, after 2 years, it was still no divorce. As time went by, Chris grew tired of playing side dude and decided he would leave Joyce alone for good and pursue a new relationship with a truly single woman who he could build with and possibly even marry. But even though Chris was done, Joyce wasn't. He would try to avoid her, ignore her texts, go to work, and focus on his new situation. By December 2020, Chris found a new girlfriend. Things were getting serious and they were planning to move in together. And by December 7th, the new couple had made their move. But it was one problem, Joyce. She knew where Chris worked, his phone number, and once she realized he was really trying to shake her, she got super angry, calling Chris all times of the night while he was home, texting him, even allegedly calling 14 times back to back. It was seeming like a beginning of a fatal attraction. On December 8th, frustrated, Joyce contacted one of her son's friends and asked about getting a gun. The next day, she called Chris 14 times again. When he didn't answer, she went to his job at about 6 in the morning before his shift started. Irritated, Chris asked, "Why won't you leave me alone? We are done. Just let it go." As the two argued, co-workers heard it all, but Joyce wasn't backing down until Chris pulled the trump card and threatened to contact her husband and tell him about their affair. She would leave after that, but later Chris realized someone had keyed the word child on the top of his car. Knowing it was Joyce, he didn't know if she was indicating that she was pregnant or that he was behaving like a child for ignoring her. Chris brushed it off and thought his threats would prevail. But on her side, Joyce decided to contact her son, 33-year-old Khalil Brown, saying mommy really needs your help, and explained Chris was ignoring her and didn't want anything to do with her. Khalil, wanting to look out for his mother, told her don't worry about it. I'll talk to him tomorrow. Then on December 10th, Chris thought he could finally relax and settle into his new situation. Joyce didn't contact him or text him at all the night before or that morning while he was getting ready to head to work. As he pulled up, he walked over to talk to a co-worker before their shift started at 6 a.m. Chris told the man she finally got it. I had to threaten to tell her husband. But while the men were joking and laughing the situation off, they didn't notice a dark-colored sedan parked in the corner of the parking lot. A man approached Chris, and seconds later, multiple shots went off. As he fell, the shooter continued to let off shots before running back to a vehicle and fleeing the scene. Co-workers tried to assist Chris as they called local police. When they arrived to the job site, unfortunately, Chris was already gone on the scene. One co-worker said a man just walked up didn't say anything, and just started shooting. As Chris' family got the news, they were devastated. Who would want the hard-working father of 9 gone? Cameras from the company showed the whole incident, but the footage was too blurry to make out the shooter or getaway vehicle, and police had no suspects or motives. Chris's co-workers never thought about Joyce because it was a man who shot. 1 year would go by as the case seemed to be going cold, but detectives from the township would go by the job and surrounding areas to pass out flyers asking for any information on the anniversary of the day Chris was hit. Another year would pass as police kept receiving tips and information, trying to build the case, even offering a cash reward. Then they received a hit that before Chris lost his life, he was having problems with an ex-girlfriend, and she was pretty much stalking him. As detectives closed in on Joyce for questioning, they would be able to link cell phone records that showed she was in the area, parked almost an hour before the shooting, and that her son Khalil was with her that day, and matched the description of the man who hopped out and shot Chris. Both mother and son was taken into custody almost 2 years after the incident, charged with first-degree hit, criminal conspiracy, reckless endangerment for shooting at a job site, and weapon violations. As the case started making its way to trial, Joyce decided to take a deal and testify against her son. As she took the stand, she stated she brought Khalil to the job to talk to Chris, but after he shot him and they drove off, she fussed him out and asked, "What did you do? I thought you was just gonna chop it up with him." As she stated, Khalil told her he changed his mind and didn't feel like talking no more. As 5 of Chris's daughters gave impact statements about their father, stating he didn't deserve that, he was a loving man, hard worker, and devoted father, and their lives were shattered, the judge agreed and sentenced Joyce to 20 to 40 years for third-degree hit, stating even though she didn't pull the trigger, she put the wheels in motion. After her testimony, about a few months after his mother, Khalil was found guilty of first-degree hit and sentenced to life in prison for being the trigger man. Rest in peace to Christopher. I send my deepest prayers and condolences to his family. This situation is crazy because you would only think younger people would deal with this kind of drama on this level. Joyce was almost 60. At that point in life, you're supposed to be cooling, relaxing, stress-free. It seemed her ego wouldn't let Chris go. We always talk about men that take the lives of females for moving on, but some women can be, if not more, just as treacherous with a broken heart. The thing is, she was married. Not saying Chris was right for engaging with a married woman, but she probably kept telling him it was about to end, stringing him along. Then you bring your son in the mix. As a mother, you know personally what type time your son is on. I feel she got him so she wouldn't have to do it herself, sending Khalil to prison for life, and herself, because 20 to 40 years at 56 is almost a life sentence, all because of her relationship drama. So remember, we gotta succeed not to fail, so we won't be just another Hood Tale. Man, crazy story. Rest in peace to Christopher. I send my prayers to his family. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this situation in the comments. Definitely be respectful. I appreciate you if you made it to the end. Y'all already know it's all love, fam. It's another episode of Hood Tales. It's your boy Tony 2 times.
What's up, fam? It's your girl, Mrs. Tony 2 times, and I'm back with another video. In this episode of Hood Tales, I'll be taking it to Tuscaloosa County, Alabama, to discuss the crazy story of a woman who shot and took the life of her co-worker after alleged harassment and bullying. But before we get into this video, welcome if you're new here to our channel, and welcome back to all of our subscribers. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do so and join the Tony 2 times family. Go ahead and click that notification bell to get notified every time we upload. And if you're rocking with the content, don't forget to hit that like button. Likes are absolutely free and help the channel to grow. And also, if you'd like to help our channel to grow by donating financially, please take a look at the information in the description box below. Either way you choose to support the channel, we appreciate you so much. All right, without further ado, let's jump right into it. On Sunday, August 4th, 2019, in Cottondale, Alabama, at the start of the overnight shift at the Lier Corporation, a factory that makes automotive seats and electrical systems for the Mercedes-Benz plant west of Birmingham. Employees arrived and began to take their places on the production line. At approximately 8:39 p.m., 28-year-old Angela Mayo approached her coworker, 27-year-old Shanina Smith, while Shanina was on the assembly line. Angela pulled out a .38 caliber and shot her 3 times in the face, and several more times as she fell to the ground and stood over her. 6 other co-workers witnessed the horrific and brazen ordeal as Angela fled the facility. Police arrived at the factory at 8:45 p.m. and Shanina was sadly pronounced gone at the scene. Less than a half hour later, Angela turned herself in to authorities. During Angela's interview with investigators, she admitted to slaying her coworker. She said it was because she was worried that her own life was in danger. According to what Angela told police, she and Shanina had an alleged long-standing feud that began 8 months prior to the shooting. Angela accused Shanina of bullying and harassing her. Angela said Shanina would make fun of her for being slow on the production line. And on the day of the tragic incident, Angela claimed that Shanina brushed up against her, and that was the final straw. Investigators said there were no complaints made to HR or to a supervisor about the alleged issues between the co-workers. Investigators also found out that Angela had gone to the shooting range days before the incident. They also discovered that Angela bought ammunition on her way to work. Shanina's family was, of course, devastated by her slaying. Shanina was a mother of a 3-year-old son and was engaged to be married. Shanina's mother said she spoke to her daughter before she left for work that night and said Shanina told her she would see her when she got off in the morning. She said her daughter was the sweetest, loving, and kindest person she knew. She doesn't believe that her daughter would ever treat someone the way Angela accused her of doing. She said Shanina didn't have an issue with anyone and would just go to work, do her job, and come home. She wanted to know why Angela really took her daughter's life. She demanded justice for Shanina and wanted Angela to have the same fate as her daughter. Shanina didn't deserve for her life to be taken in such a cold and brutal way. I don't know for sure if Angela's issues with Shanina are true. However, regardless of the allegations Angela made against Shanina, she didn't have the right to pull the trigger and take her life. I know some people may say that if the allegations were true, that picking on a person can lead to them snapping, but it doesn't make it right. In these kinds of scenarios, I can unfortunately see both sides. I don't believe it's okay to make fun of people because of their shortcomings or things they may not be able to change, for example, their physical appearances. Some people don't have thick skin, especially when you're an adult. Leave your childish ways behind you. It's a workplace, not junior high or high school. I know at a majority of workplaces, people do things to pass time. I have a few personal stories myself of someone getting bullied at work or made fun of simply because of who they are. It's unfortunate that this situation had to play out like this. In November 2020, a judge found Angela not competent to stand trial. She was sent to a psychiatric hospital and released in March 2021. After that, she was found competent to stand trial. Angela ended up pleading guilty to slaying Shanina. The prosecution recommended her to be sentenced to life. Angela's attorney recommended 20 years, claiming that Angela was on medication for PTSD because of grape and SA at an earlier age. In May 2021, Angela was sentenced to 50 years in prison. She will be eligible for parole after 15 years. In August 2021, Shanina's family filed a $10 million lawsuit against Angela and the company that employed them for what happened to Shanina. Shanina's family is still advocating for her. Her mother hoped that Angela would have received a stiffer sentence and still wants answers as to why Angela took her daughter's life. May Shanina Smith rest in peace. My condolences and well wishes to her family and loved ones. My heart goes out to her son especially, who has to live without his mother, all over some stupid workplace mess. Shanina was loved and adored and had her whole life ahead of her. I know that night she went to work, she couldn't have imagined things would have escalated to that point. As I mentioned earlier, I don't know for sure if the things Angela claimed were true. It doesn't appear that there was any direct evidence. But based on what Angela said, their issues went on for 8 months. That's a long time to have to put up with someone bantering you. And if Shanina did allegedly brush up against her intentionally, that wasn't cool. And some people would retaliate off that alone. But it doesn't mean you take someone's life. For the amount of times Angela fired at Shanina, she had some deep-rooted problems against her. It was very personal. It seems premeditated in my opinion. She went to a shooting range and bought ammunition before her shift that day. Angela knew exactly what she was about to do that day and had plenty of chances to back out, but she didn't. On some online forums I read about the case, some people speculated that maybe Angela was jealous of Shanina in some type of way. But again, I'm not exactly sure what really drove Angela to do what she did. Now she has to spend the majority of her life in prison. I wonder if it was really worth it in the end. Fam, tell me your thoughts on this in the comments below. And please be respectful. Alright fam, that's it for this episode of Hood Tales. Thank you all so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It's your girl, Mrs. Tony 2 times, and I'm out.
What's going on, YouTube, fam? This your boy Tony 2 times, and we back with another episode of Hood Tales, man. Before I start, be sure to tap that like button. Definitely watch this video to the end to hear the full story and all the details in the case. For all the day one fam, y'all already know it's all love. Thanks for tuning back into another episode. If you're new to the channel and you feeling the content, feel free to subscribe. Definitely hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time we drop a new video. Let's get right into the story. When most people think about family, what usually comes to mind? Love, loyalty, respect. Being that that's your blood, there's always a sense of that's my people, no matter what. There's no such thing as a perfect family. Maybe on TV shows, but in real life, families argue, beef, have eternal issues. Most of the time, there's always that one family member that can step in between and be a mediator and remind the relatives they geeking. Like, nah, we family, it's not going down like that. Sometimes that could work, depending on the circumstances. You might have a brother or sister that feels like the outcast, or that the family takes your side on every situation instead of theirs. And as we all know, petty things can turn major real fast when someone is already holding a grudge against you or have animosity. Some people have so many deep-rooted issues with their family, they just choose to separate themselves all around the board. Either they just don't come around or move away and might pop up occasionally. But when you take a tight-knit family, put them all in one house, it could be cool for a minute. Everybody chips in and plays their part. But if one person is holding on to past issues, being that close, any small thing could rehatch those feelings. And sometimes the outcome is fatal. And on this episode of Hood Tales, we'll take it all the way back to 2016 in Atlanta, Georgia, to discuss a man that snapped, ending the life of his sister's boyfriend after an argument about an EBT card. In 2016, 20-year-old Nathaniel Mathis was living in a home with a lot of his family members and extended family, including his sister, who we will call D, his mother, his nephew, D's other sister, and D's 34-year-old boyfriend, Rodney Benton, who they called Rod. The home was left to D and the family by their grandmother when she passed away and was located on Polar Rock Road in Atlanta. The family all looked out for each other and everybody pitched in what they could to pay the bills and get everyday necessities like groceries, including Nathaniel. At just 20 years old, trying to figure out life, he would throw in a couple dollars from time to time, but one thing he could count on every month was his EBT card or food stamps when they hit. Nathaniel would usually get a card to his sister D, request a few items for himself, and she would take the rest and put food in the house for everybody else. As everyone played their part, so on June 11th, 2016, that day was no different. D told the family her and Rod were about to head to the grocery store and use some of Nathaniel's stamps to grab a few things. Nathaniel requested some small items, including some piece of Hot Pockets. D said, "All right, little bro, we got you," and her and Rod headed out. When they got to the store, they started grabbing items. But when they got to the aisle the Hot Pockets were supposed to be in, they were sold out. D called Nathaniel to let him know. He paused for a few seconds and felt some kind of way and quickly hung up the phone. Not thinking anything about it, D and Rod went on to the register to check out. But when they attempted to pay with the EBT card, it declined. She knew it had money on there and figured maybe it was a mistake. So she tried again, but the card declined for a second time. The cashier stated it was the wrong PIN number. D called Nathaniel back. This time, his tone was different. He seemed frustrated and was angry, saying, "Man, forget all that. Yeah, I changed the PIN. Bring me my card back home now." This made D and Rod frustrated. They took all this time to go shopping, and now Nathaniel was geeking. As the couple pulled back up to the house, Rod stayed in the whip. D went inside and tried to get a card to her little brother, but Nathaniel refused to take it. Frustrated, she then threw the card on the floor. He didn't say nothing, but walked outside on the porch. Rod was sitting in the truck with the window halfway down. A neighbor was outside enjoying the summer day. Nathaniel walked up to the car and said something about his stamp card to Rod. When Rod replied, "I ain't got nothing to do with that, bro. That's between you and your sister." Then Nathaniel whipped out a gun as Rod tried to roll up the window and get out the way. Nathaniel stated, "You already know what it is," and started shooting, before then walking back to the house and grabbing another gun, a chopper or AK-47. His mother tried to calm him down, and his nephew attempted to take the rifle from him, but Nathaniel was too strong. He then fled with both guns and ran to a nearby park in the area. Once Nathaniel got there, he saw someone that knew his family. He flagged them down and told them to call his sister D and to tell her he was sorry, he loved her, and he wasn't mentally stable, and just snapped, and he was about to go into the woods to end it all. Neighbors who witnessed the shooting back at the house called Atlanta police, but once they told them Nathaniel was still armed and was claiming he was going out with a bang, they sent SWAT and police to the area. When they arrived, they found Rod suffering from 8 gunshot wounds, unfortunately pronounced gone on the scene. Police spoke to the person that Nathaniel flagged down at the park. They told police his mental seemed throwed off, and he stated he just took a life over something stupid. Nathaniel's family all came out as the neighborhood was on edge because kids played at the park. Everyone hoped he would surrender. Family and neighbors watched as everything played out. Eventually, Nathaniel surrendered and was taken into custody without incident. In the woods, police found the .40 caliber handgun and also the drum from the K. The .40 was the same weapon used against Rod. Nathaniel wasn't saying much, so a gunshot residue test was done on him, and it showed he was shooting a gun that day. He was taken to Grady Hospital for 2 days for a mental evaluation before being booked into the Fulton County Jail, charged with felony hit, malice hit, assault, handgun violations, and possession of a firearm during a felony. As the community and family mourned the passing of Rod, in which it seemed he lost his life in a family feud he wasn't even involved in, most stated Nathaniel's mental state was thrown off that day. As the case made its way to trial, Nathaniel testified in his own defense. He claimed he didn't remember much from that day, only running to the park, and once he got to jail, calling a friend, telling them like, bro, I snapped and took my sister's boyfriend's life. Nathaniel claimed him and Dee had been having issues since their grandmother died and left them the house, and claimed he knows earlier that day she was cussing at him about the card and claimed Rod said something from the car. Nathaniel stated he thought Rod was reaching for a gun, so he shot first. Then he blanked out. He said he just remembered holding the gun and shot, but neighbors claimed Rod only spoke as Nathaniel approached the car, mad, and said something about the car, and Rod only said, that's y'all business. Dee was inside the house and not outside, and no gun was ever found on Rod or in the truck. In the end, Nathaniel was found mentally stable and sentenced to life plus 10 years in prison. Rest in peace to Rod. I send my deepest prayers and condolences to his family. It seemed all this happened over an EBT card, but Nathaniel felt it was much deeper. When families have eternal issues and they go unaddressed for years and one member feels played or tried, it's only a matter of time before things hit the fan and somebody snaps, as emotions can be dangerous. Add a gun to that and you looking at a tragedy waiting to happen. It seemed Rod was just caught in the middle, and Nathaniel wasn't going to do nothing to his sister, so to hurt her, he targeted her boyfriend, guilty by association. All this over food. It probably wasn't no more than a few $100s on the card. If you do stay with your family, there's nothing wrong with that. It's hard out here. Just make sure everybody knows their role, plays their part, and know what they have to do and chip in on, and address any issues head on, because situations like this are too common. So remember, we gotta succeed, not to fail, so we won't be just another hood tale. Yeah, man, crazy situation. Rest in peace to Rod. But I ain't gonna talk too much more about this one. Y'all let me know what y'all think about the situation in the comments. Definitely be respectful. I appreciate you if you made it to the end. Y'all already know it's all love, fam. This is another episode of Hood Tales. It's your boy Tony 2 times. I'm out.